Welcome to the first programme in a new series called Walk Over History, where we take some unlikely walkers from town to the countryside for a day of historical discovery. The mapmakers' Ordnance Survey were dropping off our first guests at dawn. Today we're in West Sussex, discovering the history that's directly under our feet. Looks like my guests just arriving. They had 11 miles to go, and they were off to a very bumpy start. Extraordinary! This must be our guests. How do you do? How you doing?
Hello.
What a hell of a way to turn up. You got a hand free?
Yes.
How are you?
Pleased to meet you.
Right.
I can't say I can shake your hand.
No.
Oh, you can get out now.
There you come.
All right. Is this Sussex?
It is. It's a hedge in Sussex. Our walkers are amateur actors, and of course they've made a very dramatic debut. Only to be expected. Well, I'll tell you what, you certainly know how to make an entrance. Welcome to a Walk Over History. This is Bev Oliver, who with her fellow actor Mike Mulvey have already turned a perfectly normal entrance into a short farce. No, but lovely way to start the morning.
Oh, yes.
Good
yes.
view?
Oh, yes, fantastic
Yes.
view.
OK, well, we're going to get straight into the business of where we are. Yeah, I presume you're quite happy to use a map and a compass, are you?
I haven't got a clue.
We flew over Henfield, so take a look and see if you can find out. I'll give you a clue, all right? So we're actually there. So from Henfield in West Sussex, the plan was to set a course for Ashurst and then pick up the Downs Link, the route of an old railway line heading north towards Cowfold. From there, we'd walk to West Grinstead and then on to the village of Shipley, before hopefully ending the day in a pub at Dragon's Green, 11 miles down the road. En route, we'd be reliving the days of the mysterious Knights Templar, discovering the secrets of one of the most austere religious orders in Britain, and who's this, and why have millions of people seen his windmill? The balloon pilots couldn't stop to say goodbye.
No, you're right, the car can do work.
It's more sleigh riding than ballooning, really, isn't it? Yeah. You see, there's something to be said for walking, isn't there? First, we managed the short hop to the local church at Henfield, on foot. Actors Bev and Mike are more used to treading the boards than the footpaths of southern England. So do you get out into the countryside very much at all?
Unfortunately not.
What is this?
I don't know, laziness, I guess.
Really? What about you? Do you travel around the countryside much?
No, I'd like to do more, but pressure of work, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
What about, so you any sporting activities at all?
No, not at all. I think the amateur dramatics take up more time than any sport would.
Really?
Yeah.
And what was the last thing you did?
Bedroom farce.
And what do you do within it?
Well, that particular play I directed, actually.
Did you?
Yeah.
The director?
Yes.
So you'll be telling me which way to walk today.
Oh, I don't know about that.
And yours is all a bit raunchy, isn't it? I understand.
Well,
you got your kit off, didn't you?
Well, okay, yeah, I did. I was in my underwear in bed with a bloke, so yeah.
With an audience.
Well, yeah, with an audience, yeah. But you forget them. I think you have to.
OK, Mr. Director, what do you reckon? Right or left at this point?
Left.
Left. OK. This double-jointed cat with a bird stuck to his paw was painted 100 years ago.
Fantastic.
Oh, I love them.
And what's a Zulu hole? Doesn't really bear thinking about, does it? So, Betty.
Hello.
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 Betty Dowsett lives here now in peace, but 100 years ago, a bitter feud erupted between the then owner, Bob Ward, and the local clergyman. They were the neighbours from hell of the late 19th century.
Well, the two fell out when the Canon's cat killed Bob Ward's canary.
Oh, right.
Oh, I see.
That's what it
So
is.
that's the legend.
War
So he
infection.
then put all these kinky things on here, all these cats on here,
Yes.
and at the same time, he had a black figure from the Zulu hole, which have you noticed?
Oh,
I noticed
yeah,
the Zulu
that's-
hole
yeah, I
on the
saw that
side,
on the
yeah.
And that
yeah.
to aggravate him even more.
And what's the Zulu hole for, then?
Well, he fired this black material out of it. He was complete eccentric.
Extraordinary people. So, is eccentricity goes with the house, does it?
Oh, I don't think so.
But anyway, look,
Yes.
thank you very much for talking
Pleasure.
us through.
Nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Enough of kinky cats and Zulu holes. Time to cover the miles and climb a few stiles. After all, that's what this walking lark is all about.
Here and then off to the right.
So if you're... Yeah, but...
Another style, you see. It's all hard work out in the country.
Oh, goodness
You're
me.
telling me it's hard work.
You're enjoying yourselves,
I don't
aren't you?
yes,
absolutely.
yeah. Yeah, this is a
It's
bit...
all the,
Supposed to be actors, say
This
it with
is
a
a
little
bit
bit more
hemmed in,
confidence.
isn't it?
Very pretty though, all the little wildflowers, isn't it?
yes.
Well, they're not very colourful though, are they? Are these?
We left Henfield behind and set a course for Ashurst. We were searching for an ancient instrument of torture, which is kept in a 12th century Knights Templar
Now,
church.
this is a beautiful old Norman church.
It's lovely.
But whilst it's very pretty, we're actually not here to see the church.
Oh.
Yes.
What, the gravestones?
Hark! Hark! We heard the call of museum curator Chris Todd and his vamping horn.
A foghorn.
A vamping horn, because you're both actors and you've done a bit of vamping, and this is the man with the horn.
This is it, but it's nothing to do with acting and vamping. It's vamping is in the horn is got a different derivation entirely.
Oh.
It's from an old French word which means in the front, like in the van of an army, and it was for leading the way in the singing.
Go on, Billy. Go on. Give it a go.
I won't get a sound out of this.
Well,
Give it a whirl.
That's good. Colin would be proud of you.
No, there's no way I can blow that one. No.
The vamping horn was pretty big around the time of Charles II, but we weren't too sorry that it never really caught on.
As they say.
Sorry, do I what?
Did you get hay fever?
Yeah,
Suppose lots of people get hay fever.
unfortunately I do.
Never understood it myself, but
Well, you're lucky.
is it really? Come on. From Ashurst, we headed north towards Cowfold, one of the most astonishing places in the Weald, and one of the most secret. Cut off from the outside world, St Hugh's Charterhouse is one of the most austere religious orders in Europe.
Incredible. It's extraordinary, isn't it? Just
You don't think that there are places like this?
The monastery is closed to the public, and they're very choosy about who they let inside, as Bev was about to find out.
Dresses? Anyone at home?
That's a bit echoey. You rang, my lord?
I was expecting a bell.
Hello.
Hello.
Father Bruno. Hi.
I'm terribly sorry, but you had not been warned. We don't allow ladies inside
Oh.
unless you're with the Queen.
Oh, well, maybe one of these can be a queen.
Bev was cast out because of her sex, but Father Bruno promised he'd send out one of the younger brothers to keep her company.
Speak with you while I show the gentleman.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I'll wait outside the door.
Thank you for being so kind.
That's okay. I know when I'm not wanted.
Treat. Thank
That's
you.
very nice.
Well,
And,
bye, boys.
we'll see you. We'll send out a bag of crisps.
Thank you. See you later.
In 1873, when
The Carthusian order was founded in the 11th century. However, this building is relatively new, dating back to the 1870s. Surprisingly, this vast place is home to just 23 monks.
It's quite a shock when you come from outside into this cloister and all noise, music, TV, cinemas, holidays, cars, just stop.
Is it a silent order, though?
Well, we're not in the same sense as the Cistercians. We live alone.
Right.
And we talk very little, but we meet 2 or 3 times a week for conversation.
Couldn't you go mad here?
Oh, yes, quite easily. Oh, it's not uncommon, shall we say? Oh, no.
Well, you've drawn the short straw, really, having to sit out here and talk to me.
Oh, not at all. I'm delighted. It doesn't happen to me every day, I'll tell you.
Inside, it's another world as the monks each carry out their own spiritual journey. Father Bruno explained how in 52 years as a monk, he'd only once come close to quitting. Have you ever considered that you were wrong?
Well, no, never wrong, but once I got tired for half an hour in March 1947.
That's the last time.
And you remember it so well.
Oh, yes, yes.
So what was different during that half an hour?
Well, I
then?
got to it was late and I was very tired. I thought, well, now, have I had enough of this lark, you see? So I went along to the novice master, and he was downstairs. It's a rather big cell. And Before I could see him, somebody else came in and caught him downstairs. And after half an hour, I thought, well, that would be a silly ass, and so I never bothered again.
This is where we feed the tramps, actually.
Oh, thank you. That says a lot for me.
If you'd like a bun and a cup of tea or something.
That would be nice. A cup of tea would be nice.
So this is the...
So our resting place. When I came, there was no graves at that side at all, and some were missing there. There's on an average one a year. We fill in the grave while we're there singing psalms. And then the cross is put in place, and then we go back into church.
There's no headstone, is there?
No.
Those are just crosses, and we have a chart with the names on, but there's no name on the actual grave.
The monks live their whole lives here in these small two-storey buildings where they have rooms called cells. They emerge only for services and Sunday lunch. And this is the first cell that you were in when you were...
When I came.
When you first came
Oh
in?
my God, look at it. Now this is where he lives, prays, eats, studies and sleeps.
Father, this bed is rock hard.
Yes. Well, he may be one that likes wood. Oh yes, he sleeps on a wooden plank. For many years it was straw, but they find now that because of all the, what do you call them, pesticides, the straw is contaminated and can make allergies. Now, of course, what's happened is since the cell was renovated, when I came here, there was a stone sink with a cold tap, and now it's a wee bit different.
So have you got?
Do you want to?
You've got a shower.
Oh, you've got a full shower.
right.
Very nice. Yeah, very unexpected.
That's when I came here, a stone sink and half a barrel for having a bath.
That monastery was extraordinary, wasn't it?
Oh, it was amazing. It really was.
Yeah, the outside was really good.
Well, it is a shame you didn't get a chance to come in, actually, because their attitudes were really strange. I mean, he was a lovely bloke. But...
Yes, but fancy staying in that place for 52 years. I mean,
52?
52 years he'd been
You're not even
inside.
that old, are you, Mike?
No.
We're halfway and actors Bev and Mike have enjoyed the opening scenes, but there's plenty more history to discover, like the tragic story of the boy buried outside a Sussex pub. And we revisit the days when you could buy anything at public auction, even one of these. We're halfway in our walk over history with about 5 miles still to go. That's me, Nick Knowles, and amateur actors Bev Oliver and Mike Mulvey. They hardly ever get out, but today they're on the trail of ancient crusaders, descendants of a popular poet, an albino boy and a pint of beer, or maybe 2. We were now making our way from Cowfold towards West Grinstead, along part of the Downs Link, which is the route of an old dismantled railway line.
I don't think there was any actual plays written about trains.
There was a short play that we did with a train and...
Oh, that was in Mixed Doubles.
Mixed Doubles, yeah.
Well, there was a newly married couple on a carriage.
Yeah.
There's a scene in Cabaret, isn't there, on the railway?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Oh, look, that must be the old platform.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, yes, well, I'm going
I
to
don't
take
see any trains.
platform route, I think.
Oh, careful.
You're going to do an impression of a train whilst you're down
Have
there?
you got your
No.
platform shoes on?
No, he's got ideas above his station. Oh,
All
God.
the gags coming up. Marvellous. It's extraordinary, though, to be walking on a platform that's sort of just died and overgrown. In its heyday, this railway line stretched from Guildford to Shoreham. However, in the 60s, like so many other branch lines, it was axed by the government. The 805 may not go from here anymore, but taken at a more leisurely pace, the old route is still very popular.
Oh, I think we could do with a train right now.
Yeah, get to the pub quicker.
I think it'd have to be a ghost train. You'd be a long time waiting for a train to come and pick you up here now. Wouldn't you? Next door to the station on the left used to be the local pub. Now it's a restaurant with no beer and the railway is a busy road where we take our bearings.
There you go. You know that's pointing the right way. The north is up the map, yeah. Find your point where you actually where you are at the moment. So stay with that.
From West Grinstead, we were going west to the ancient village of Shipley. There were no ships, but we did find some famous sails. This working windmill was once home to a famous poet and more recently a magician and crime sleuth. Hello there.
Hello, come on up.
Thank you. Fantastic.
Juliet. Good job I'm not wearing a short skirt.
And it's a firm favourite of local historian David Arscott.
Nick.
Nice to meet you.
Hello.
Nice to
see you.
Hello, what a fabulous windmill.
It's the most beautiful one in Sussex, a smock mill. They call them smock mills because they're shaped like the old farmers' smocks.
Oh.
Oh, right, yeah.
How old is that?
1879.
1879.
So it's actually the youngest smock mill in Sussex, and it only ground corn until the 1920s, then it stopped. But it's famous because it was owned by Hilaire Belloc, apart from being a beautiful windmill, and he was a writer of dozens and dozens of books, many about Sussex. And he wrote these wonderful songs, drinking songs of Sussex, and poems.
Sounds
and
like a man after my own heart.
Yes, and a book in which he traipsed the whole length of Sussex, stopping at inns and places like that. Oh, one of his poems, if I ever become a rich man, or if ever I grow to be old, I will build a house of deep thatch to shelter me from the cold, and there shall the Sussex songs be sung, and the story of Sussex told.
Oh, how lovely.
Nice.
One of the locals up the road told me that this was someone famous actually lived in this. Is that true?
Well, this was a windmill which they filmed Jonathan Creek. So that means more to some people than Hilaire Belloc. Not to me.
Well, yes, I have to admit it means more to me than Hilaire Belloc.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
It's like it's been built in parts, is that right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
To fill the gaps in our knowledge, we didn't have to walk very far.
Yes, I think
The
so.
descendants of Hilaire Belloc live next door. That's Rachel Eustace
Hello.
and her son Edward.
You know each other already, of course, and this is Mike. Where's Mike gone? Oh, well, never mind. Who's this over here?
This is my son Edward.
Hello, Edward.
Hello.
By a windmill too. So your family.
Yes, well, my husband is the great-grandson of Hilaire Belloc.
He was quite a star in his time, wasn't he?
Yes, he was, yes. He was. He knew quite a few prominent people, you know, yeah. So, and there's an old story that we knew from a local man who lived nearby who was delivering a note to the miller, and Belloc leaned out of the window here and he said, "Do you play West Boy?" And he said yes. He went into the dining room and Winston Churchill was there along with Chesterton and Belloc, so that was the four of them to play whist. Yes.
In the room here?
Yes, that's right, yes.
Wow. I'm sure he wrote something that was really rude for its time. I just can't remember how it went.
The world is full of double beds and most delightful maidenheads. And being so, there's no excuse for...
Now that's where it gets naughty. That's enough of that, thank you very much. Far too much for this time of night.
all the world's a critic.
Yes, if you want to get that poem, by the way, get the book out of the library and find out. Thank you very much. It's been really nice meeting you. That bloke performing in the window looked remarkably like our actor, Mike Mulvey, without his specs. But it couldn't have been him, could it?
God was dishonest, you know the old saying that an honest miller had hair in the palm of his hand.
Oh, yeah, so...
Of course, none of them did.
Shipley, it turned out, is also infamous as the place where one of the last public wife auctions took place in Sussex in 1844.
Do their little bit where they could.
There you go, Bev. There's no... Oh, we've lost Bev now. Perfect.
Oh.
Yeah, looks a fair young maid.
You're incorrigible, you, aren't you? You never think of anything else.
Hello, and what are you doing here?
Looking miserable.
Why are you miserable?
Because my husband's just sold me at auction to some bloke named Johnson from Shipley.
Well, I heard a case of a chap that sold his wife for 4 pints of beer. How much do your husband get for you?
£1 10 shillings.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's see if we can have a bit of a whip round and...
Yeah.
30p.
I've got nothing.
6p.
36p, I'm afraid. It's not going to go very far, is it?
Suppose I better get home and make his supper then.
Sorry about that.
Right.
Very familiar. Yes, it was Bev reenacting the true story of Anne Holland. How times have changed. We'd set a course for Shipley Church. It used to be a military training centre for a body of fighting monks known as the Knights Templar. There to tell us more was the Reverend Dan Pope. What a fabulous church you have here.
Been here for a long time, been here for about 1100 years or something like that.
Quite something to have Knights Templar work in the church.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is that when we dig graves just south of where I'm standing now, we come across beds of oyster shells. So they probably lived rather better than one would imagine that monks.
Well, they had to keep their strength up to fight the Holy Crusades. In this church in the 12th century, they would practice the skills needed to bring them power and wealth. But the Pope and the King of France felt threatened and plotted their downfall. In 1314, the last of the Knights Templar was burnt at the stake.
It's spotless, isn't it?
It's lovely, isn't it?
This reminds me of the opening scenes of Little House on the Prairie. You know, when the girls are running through the cornfields.
Yes.
And then one of them falls over, which would be me.
The last leg of our walk takes us to the hamlet of Dragon's Green, and more importantly, the pub.
Well, this is certainly a direct route you're taking, isn't it, Nick?
Well, I thought we'd take us... Oh, well, I've got the map, and the map's correct, and it's saying that...
All right.
We're going the right way.
I'm getting prickled.
Going north.
Yeah.
My legs are aching.
Had enough. Looks like your lifts have turned up anyway.
I think
Do with
Oh, yeah. Balloons arrived for you. Perfect.
Well, I hope it's a
better
ride than it was this morning.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a rough landing, that, wasn't
Well,
it?
you could say that,
Hang on, look at this, look.
Well, Belloc would have approved of ending a walk, you know, at a pub, but this is a very interesting gravestone.
Go and look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It seems before we could quench our thirst in this particular pub, we'd have to walk over someone's grave to get to our pint.
I mean, you can't just bury anyone wherever you want.
This was supposed to be in Shipley churchyard where we were earlier on.
Right.
But the vicar wouldn't allow it. It's a very sad story. Young Walter Budd, he died at the age of, just 26. He was, it says on here, an albino. He was also an epileptic. I think he was a bit of a sad character, a nice young lad, no doubt. But people made fun of him, and he suffered a lot. And because of this, he took his own life, committed suicide one day. And his parents obviously felt people hadn't treated him properly. Now, if you look very carefully down at the bottom here, it says, and it's hard to make it out now, "May God forgive those who forgot their duty to him who was just and afflicted." In other words, they took a swipe at people on the gravestone, saying, "Look what you did, you made our son commit suicide," and the vicar wouldn't have it. Well, they happened to run the pub, so they said, "All right, we'll take it away and put it in the church, in the pub." And of course, many more people see it now than would ever have seen it in Shipley churchyard, so the message goes home very well.
Well, thanks for coming along and showing us around. Hope you enjoyed wandering around with us.
Yeah, I'm only sorry I couldn't get up at 6 o'clock and pull out the balloon, really.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
I'm not.
No.
You were probably well advised to miss that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So do you think you'll walk again?
Oh yes, definitely. I'm a real convert, I think.
Really?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm
It's been
shocked.
a terrific day.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. What about yourself?
Well, I think the windmill was the nicest thing for me because it was sort of romantic. And I'm a romantic at heart.
Aww.
Yeah, I know it's soppy, but it was just, I don't know, it was just sort of sweet and girly.
Would it be fair to say you're more likely to go walking than balloon riding again?
Yes, definitely, without a question. I think my legs have ached today and my feet have sung very well.
Okay. All right, well, look, thank you very much for all coming along. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed this walk over history as well. Take care. See you soon.
So what have we got next week? Well, we walk over Dorset to discover the county's rich military past, we sample some stunning coastal views, and we learn all about the vices of Lawrence of Arabia.